So you've got your inspiration, and now it's come to the part where you're gonna design shit. Hey guys, so welcome back to Design 101, and we're gonna do like initial sort of designs if you want to sort of design jewellery design, because that's kind of like my background, and this can even apply to like products, or I don't know, if you want to get like inspiration to I guess start something. So there's many ways that you can like design, but if you want to design a more of a aesthetic, I guess, product, you could use this, and then maybe later on you can find a way that it can become more functional, or ways that it could perhaps become more useful to people. So yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to take you step by step of things to use, like materials, like pens, paper, and like we're going to teach you how to like mark make and different methods of designing and translating what you've taken for your inspiration onto a bit of paper. So we're going to cut to a little tutorial that I did, and you can see me go step by step, and hopefully it will help you guys out when it comes to designing. So yeah, cut to the video. Okay. The process of designing, you know, there's different like processes, but for today we're going to sort of go through the process of like mark making, and we're just going to be using like different kind of like materials and different like perspectives of way to design. So okay, let's start. So what you'll need is some paper. So this is just kind of like, it's not regular like printing paper obviously, but it's like sketchbook paper. It's like something that's kind of like, I guess, thick enough for pens so that maybe it doesn't like bleed through, or maybe if you want to paint on it so it's kind of like all purpose. You could use watercolor paper if you wanted to. It's up to you, because at this point you can like use it to hang up, or you can put it in your sketchbook. It's just personal preference, I guess. You will also need like, you know, a pencil. I'm just using a normal like HP pencil, but you know, feel free if you can use like a sort of like one of these kind of, I don't know, like mechanical pencils. I kind of like the feel of I guess a normal kind of HP pencil. Some people may go lighter, maybe 2F, or maybe darker towards a B, but yeah, I just like the HB for now, and if I want to do detail I'll probably use my mechanical pencil. You want to get maybe kind of these kind of like I don't know what we call it, pigment liners, I guess, which also kind of highlight I guess areas if you wanted to just like maybe go over it, or yeah, just like highlight it and stuff. This is like 0.3, and I use sometimes I use a 0.2, and like these things can go all the way to like 0.5, but yeah, I like to kind of use these kind of two combinations together. You can also use like different kind of like fine line pens. These are like tip pens. I don't know if you can recognize them from like primary school or something like that, or secondary school. They used to use these all the time. But yeah, they're just kind of like felt tip pens really, but they're kind of like more like finer than regular felt tip pens, because usually they're kind of like felt tip pens are kind of very thick, but this is like more of a tip thing, just to get the detail again. I mean, you can use to colour in as well. Preferably I think Sharpies are probably easier to colour in, but I think this is good for like highlighting. I've got some like pencils as well you can use. You know, also if you wanted to do watercolor pencils, that's fine. Got some watercolors as well. It's kind of overused. I would, they're very dark and overused. But when you put like color in it, like sorry, when you put water in it, it will like lighten up. But yeah, you could try to like use this again for like mark making. So if you decide to use maybe acrylic or watercolors, maybe like using kind of like the straight ones to maybe like pressing. You can use like the furry ones to maybe like, I don't know, like give a good like wash or something. Maybe use the really fine tip one to give like maybe like wee dots. Another thing that you'll probably need is some pictures. So this is like, you can either use pictures you can use on the internet, or you can use pictures that you took yourself. It's probably better if you use the ones that you took yourself. I've got like a series, so you could use, like, it depends on what you want to get inspiration from. You could use like maybe a singular picture. Maybe a singular picture will give you more inspiration and more shapes. Or you could use like many and create like some sort of like mood board. I think that's quite good to kind of get you in the mood. Pardon the pun, but yeah, I think if you sort of like made a kind of mood board, it kind of gives you more of a variety. It kind of gives you the aura that you want, because immediately I think that, you know, having one picture is quite good for maybe seeing the detail, and this one's just quite good to sort of like give you sort of maybe a theme, and maybe, you know, you could maybe take different like details from like here or here or here. When you're designing, or I guess mark making, the first thing to do is you're going in without thinking about what you want to design. You could like, because there's times where if I say to myself I want to create a necklace, I'll end up creating like a brooch. Surely you could probably create a brooch into a necklace, but it's just, you know, it just becomes what you want it, I guess. But yeah, I think just go in not knowing what you kind of want. So let's take the singular image and see what happens. So we're gonna do, this is what you call a study, I guess, like you're gonna use it to explore and study. For starters, the first thing that you see, for me anyway, is like I'll see like maybe like the wings, and instead of drawing like the whole thing, maybe I might just draw a section of the wings and just see what happens. Maybe I'll start like kind of drawing this kind of like a wing shape, and then maybe blow it up in a sense, maybe. Just kind of do the whole shape actually, and then do the detail. And sometimes it's kind of like difficult to keep looking, because I know that sometimes if you keep staring at this like this kind of area here, if you keep on, because I know that if you keep staring here, you'll be like kind of constantly trapped. So I feel it's kind of good to kind of like get into the technique of like maybe memorizing I guess the pattern, because I think, you know, when you get to here you kind of like realize that, okay, maybe it kind of like comes out and like maybe it kind of comes out and then gets like slightly bigger, and then it's like kind of like ridge kind of effect. So once you've got that in your mind, that's the component, so you don't need to constantly keep looking at it, and you just kind of like end up getting like the gist. So yeah, I'm going to continue drawing. And then we're going to go over it with some pen, just to sort of like highlight it. Just going to go over it here. Just to kind of give a mark making. I always feel that instead of colouring in, a good tip is start off as black and white, because then if you have the outline, you're more inclined to be like, okay, so this is the actual shape that I'm actually like using. And it's quite good to get like that skeleton kind of shape initially. Because you don't know, maybe this could kind of give you like inspiration for your next one. I'm just going to go ahead and use a sort of thicker one. As you can see here, that it's kind of has a kind of like interesting shape, and I think it's quite interesting as well. Like, I feel like if you draw it, it's like, you know, you interpret what it is of this shape, and it's never really exactly what it is, and that could also gear up for more development and inspiration as well. Here's just kind of like just black, I guess. You could even, like, if you wanted to, another technique you could do, like if you wanted to do like maybe lines, because that itself, that could be like a brooch or something as well, like that's also valid. You could even do that. You could even like your mark rake as well. Okay, so like once that's there, you could even like do hatchings if you wanted to, just to make it a little bit more interesting. So there's other ways of mark making. There's the lines like this. You can hatch like this as well. I think hatching is quite an interesting like way to colour in, because it kind of, I don't know, it just kind of makes it looks quite, I guess, interesting. You could even use, like, if you wanted like finer lines, maybe use like a finer pen to kind of create a more, I don't know, like more definition, I guess, in between. Can I see that like a little bit here? Kind of like using bits here. Because you don't have to like maybe colour the whole thing in. You could just put in like your own spin on it. Because I think that might be more interesting than just solid colour, you know. Okay. So we have roughly like what we want here. I think that's like maybe one way that you could use to design. Just, you know, even that's quite interesting in itself. You could do that, or another thing that you could do is like if you wanted to like full on colour, because when you're there, you kind of just feel the need to colour. So you can do multiple, what we call is sample drawings. So that's maybe like one exploration. If we drew it again, we could sort of do something maybe like a bit different. So if we just draw the same thing again. I know I didn't really do the whole, I noticed that I didn't really do the whole line thing that I did last time with the whole, that wee bit. But, you know, having said that though, that could make the drawing a bit more interesting. So, I mean, there's no right or wrong kind of answers here. Here as well, I'm also doing another technique, it's like dotting. So I think that could be another kind of way to get some like mark making as well, just by like dotting as well, I think. And then sometimes if you like highlighting different parts, and it's always quite good to kind of do that. It kind of gives you more of a, I guess, interesting detail as well. So we're going to try and use some colour. So again, we're going to open up our watercolours. I'm going to try use these kind of brushes. I always use these three brushes. I'm not sure I'm going to use all of them, but you know, we'll see. So I like to use kind of this is sort of like a half rounded kind of brush that could be good for like kind of dabbing, or maybe creating like some texture. Maybe a sort of finer brush for those details. This could be for like mark making, you know, because you've got like a kind of straight edge here. And maybe you can use this one for like blending. This is fairly like kind of fluffy. So let's try this. Get your brush nice and wet. Just kind of like dab it off as well inside this here. Watch this, like nice and wet. So in the picture, it's kind of like, it looks like it's going to be like kind of pink, and it kind of goes yellow and then orange and then like kind of blue. So we're just gonna like try to emulate that and maybe kind of exaggerate a little bit as well. And I think my tip is don't sort of, well, I mean you can, some people like to do it, but the way I like to work is just be kind of free and very optimistic. So I kind of like go out of the lines, so don't be afraid to go out of the lines. No one's going to shout at you for that. Okay, I haven't used this set in a while. Also feel free to just like use your, because it's your sketchbook or your paper, to just use it as like a kind of wash palette. I'm going to use the tip of this brush, so not the whole thing, so just to get that kind of like little bit of like, oh god, detail of like the whole pink thing here. So it kind of goes like this. Just gonna dabbing it on like that. Just very minimally like this. You can see. What I've done is to create more colour is that my brush isn't that wet, so I've been dabbing it just to get that kind of colour. So I think it's quite good to just like start off very light and then eventually kind of like build up on it. So we're just going to like wipe it down a little bit just to kind of get a little bit of colour. You can also see that the black is also kind of coming off from the pigment, and that's perfectly fine. That kind of gives more of a depth, I think. Sometimes when you're painting, it kind of gives you inspiration of like maybe materials to use. Now I know that the colour kind of intensifies a little bit in this here, so I'm going to mix an orange with it, and I'm going to use this kind of brush. And quite good because in the painting in the photo, it actually gets increasingly more orange as it kind of goes down the scale, so I think it's fine to just like continue this kind of like orange mania, I guess, that sits in this picture. I actually quite like these watercolours because I feel like they're inks. So this is the part where you blend. I quite like to blend a little bit of this kind of dark colour here. It's quite nice. Okay, I think there's some blue in here, so I'm going to use blue. And I'm going inside the lines. I think that's perfectly fine. Because I think it gives them more of a detailed, because then it kind of gives you more leeway of what to do. Okay, so we have a kind of like shape thing. So now that we have a kind of like colour effect, we can sort of go in, and it kind of looks already quite interesting. Like if we wanted to, we could sort of like do something very crazy and just like, even though on the picture it's like solid kind of like colour, and you might like this and you want to do something with it, but you could also develop it, and then you could maybe kind of go outside the lines and do this kind of thing, because you never know what might happen or what might come of it, I guess. And it just kind of gives like a sort of general, like, I don't know, quite interesting. It becomes totally different as well, like the more you kind of do stuff with things, and you can even go a bit more interesting as well by maybe not just using this kind of bottom bit, but maybe also using like the colour here. Like I'm kind of trying to drag the colour from the wings out a little bit as well. You can like splatter it out just to see what would happen. Not to see what happens, obviously I know what's going to happen, but like design wise, like inspiration, because you don't know. Now like that is totally different from that, and I don't know, like something just came to me, and you could even, because it kind of gives like a sort of 3D shape almost, just waiting for this kind of thing to dry, but you could even try and make it symmetrical and kind of create this, like, it kind of looks like a skirt at this point, but you could kind of do that, and it kind of looks like there's something, there's another attachment here. So not only are we looking at something flat, it kind of turns into like a cup, and you can even like look at it from this kind of angle. So now instead of being like there's a wing here, there's something kind of like 3D about it, just by I don't know, just by doing something like that, you kind of just realize that, oh, actually, you know, this could be something else. And that already itself kind of already looks like jewellery. It looks like it could be a bracelet or something, just because this whole depth that's been happening here. Another technique that I think is quite good is cutting up, like sort of making collages. I think maybe you are not a confident drawer, or you're maybe a confident painter, or whatever the case is. I always think that it could be a good idea to draw with your hands. So you can use your inspiration picture, you could use your picture that you've drew, use this to make maybe mock-ups. So I'm going to go ahead and cut up my inspirational pictures. Another thing I kind of used to do as well, like I used to just like cut and stick them out, and then I just put them on paper. And I used to like use like tracing paper, so maybe that's something that we could do as well. I'm gonna cut some of these wings out. Maybe you can like fold it, become something else. Yeah, already, like, see that just became something else there. I was folding it like that. So we have our kind of cuttings. So make sure you want to have like a glue stick as well for this. So we have like maybe this piece could be one inspiration or one model, or we could even like just like playing about with it. Maybe you're kind of like looking at these birds in a different way. So maybe this, instead of it looking at it like this way, it could be like here. Or maybe it becomes like this or something. So it kind of looks like some kind of skirt or something. But I always think that this kind of looks quite interesting. And if you wanted to, you could sort of stick this one down. And this kind of already kind of looks like a little brooch here. So maybe you're like, okay, I like this whole thing of it, I like the look of it. And maybe you're kind of like drawing a person on it, and then you could just like kind of see what that would look like. And you're like, okay, yeah, maybe that's like quite a good brooch. Or you could maybe think to yourself like, okay, maybe, or this could be like like, let's just envision what this would look like as like a kind of necklace or a neck piece. Would that be okay? Like that? Would that look a bit strange? You know, it's just all these kind of like things. Or you could even like, if you were to make more contemporary like jewellery, and this is like a sort of neck piece or something, maybe you could maybe extend it. I don't know how much your pieces could be, but you could even like extend the drawing. This is how you would demonstrate chain. It's like a circle, line, circle. You know, so that's one way that you could do it. You could be like, just kind of a very quick kind of sketch. You could also use, like, as I said before, this thing again. And then you could be like, oh, like this kind of looks like an arm piece. You could stick that down as well if you wanted to. So let's just do that. this down like this. It's so, and already that kind of looks quite interesting because it's like coming off the page as well. So yeah, just like all these kind of like things that you could do to help you design, and I hope that this has been quite useful to use, and yeah. So guys, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed my tutorial. Hopefully it wasn't too long and too boring. I know it sometimes can be kind of like long-winded, but I promise you it's like part of the process, and hopefully I got you to think differently in how to design or look at different ways of looking at things or designing things, and yeah, like the whole like zoom in and zoom out approach. Yeah, so stay tuned. I'm hoping, I guess if you heard in the next tutorial that there may be a video about prototyping, so if you want to have that, like, leave it in the description below, and yeah, we'll maybe see you then in the next Design 101. Like and comment below of what suggestions you have next. So yeah, also follow me on Instagram. We have KTO Designs, or Reimagine by KTO Designs. You can also follow me on my personal photography one, which is Pics by Kim. And also look at our website. I post there quite regularly. We've got products there, maybe some jewellery, got some blogs. You can have a look at my portfolio as well. Like, maybe my portfolio can give you like inspiration, or just like read about things in the past that I've done, and hopefully it can get your brain moving a little bit if you are stuck for design. I have like lots of photography things, lots of projects. Feel free to like look at it and read it, guys. Trying to push you guys to like design, and yeah, I just love to help people keep being inspired, and keep creating, and you know, obviously try and reimagine as best you can. So hopefully see you next time, and yeah.